What's up, everybody? This is Fox from Distinguished Fox here, and today we are talking about Quake Remastered for the new generation and that of PC as well. So today, what I'm going to be talking about Quake specifically, we have had all these FPSs, they're old school or new. Like we have the new Dooms, we have possibly a new Quake on the horizon. We don't know that for sure. So, anyways, I think when you look at the way how Quake was, or the way how it is in this new generation of hardware, Night Dive Studios did a really good, amazing job on remastering old school titles that we've had that in the years past. We've had Unreal, we've had Doom, we've had Quake, we had Duke Nukem. We have Shadow Man from that on the PlayStation 1, and I think it was on the N64 as well. So they actually did a really amazing job on the remastered version for Shadow Man for the new generation of hardware, I believe, and for that of the previous generation of hardware that we've had. So, anyways, going back to Quake. Now, I think what makes Quake different from that, not just of it being in the same genre as the FPS genre itself, it has to do with the fact that what Quake does very uniquely in its own unique way, it has different weapons than from what Doom has. Whether it's the new generational Doom or the old school Dooms alike. And so, I feel like that with the Doom games that don't have, the Doom games that the weapons that it does not have basically is like the grenade launcher. It doesn't have the nail gun. It doesn't have the Thunderbolt, which is a weapon that will shoot out lightning and will basically spread around your enemies. So that's what makes Quake a little bit different in terms of the weapon repertoire. But all I can say is this: Quake is one of the most revolutionary games that has been made with full 3D rendering. And what was able to make Quake that so capable of having that is because they've had better technology of making the Quake game. Hence of the Doom games. The Doom games were more, yes, it was revolutionary to a certain extent because of how run and gun and how fast paced it was. And Quake does that though too. But what makes Quake different from that of Doom, other than having it being in the FPS genre as they are, it has a dark Cthulhu-esque gothic type of feel to it. That's what makes it different, just a little bit different from what the Doom games did. And I like that. I like that perspective of what Quake does for that unique type of for that unique way. So, another thing though too, what I really love about Quake more so, not just of what I previously mentioned, it was the fact that it's, like I said, it's dark, it's gritty, it is fast paced, but all I can say is this: there are secrets within this game, and so the secrets are. They're not as different what you do or what you find in the Doom games, right? So, anyways, what I'm trying to say is that I just think that Quake does a better job in terms not just of its 3D rendering of what it does or what its capabilities are. It has to do with that the enemies are grotesque, they're ugly looking, there are some enemies that are fast, there are enemies that are slow. And I'm not saying that the Doom games don't have those types of enemies either. But I think another thing, though, too, what I really grabbed on from Quake, then from the Doom games as well, is the fact that, to me, it felt like a little bit of Unreal. There was a game called Unreal back in the day on PC, which I believe it released in 1998 or 1999. And that was another revolutionary game that I would really like to get into as well, because that was another game that benchmarked the FPS genre as well, because of its graphic fidelity and how it just utilized different types of lighting and shading and vice versa. Quake does not have that type of utilization in terms of that graphic fidelity or graphic quality for what Unreal does. But to me, I feel like that's what, in a way, but Quake, to me, feels like it has that a little bit of that Unreal feel to it, not because, excluding the graphic fidelity. What I mean by that, it's not that of a higher graphic game like what Unreal does for that on PC. Because Unreal is more of a PC game than anything else. It's not going to consoles. That would be nice, but either or. So, What I really love about Quake, though, not just because it has a little bit of that Unreal vibe to it, because there are certain environmental infrastructures that do have that kind of Unreal feel to it, but it's not Unreal. So I mean, hopefully you understand where I'm trying to go with this. I think another thing what I really love about Quake, more so though too, is the fact that you can swim in this game. In the previous Doom games that we've had, like Doom Eternal or Doom 2000, more so Doom Eternal than less Doom 2016, is because you were not able to swim in Doom 2016. You were able to do that in Doom Eternal, and to me, I did not like the swimming in Doom Eternal. Let's just put it that way. Let's just put it, just there. I said it, out the window. What? I don't know what that was. So, but and that's another thing though too. I like the fact that there are underwater secrets in Quake. I can't recall of any other FPS games that I can think of that do have that type of element of surprise by finding secrets underwater. But Quake has that, and that's another thing I think what Quake does really well as well in terms of that exploration. And I'm not excluding the exploration bits like you do like in other FPSs, whether if it's Unreal, whether if it's Doom or Shadow Warrior or vice versa. I mean, because every single FPS out there will, or Wolfenstein 3D. There we go. That's another game I forgot to mention. Wolfenstein 3D had secrets as well, but it did not have underwater secrets, for what I understand. But it did have secrets, and I think that's what makes the FPS, especially the old school FPS games that we have today, and that are still around, is that they do have that element of surprise. Having those secrets. And that's what makes the old school FPS games like these are. That's what they're worth, because a lot of people like finding those secrets. It has to do with the immersion gameplay of that type of aesthetic to it. That's what makes it so cool as well. So, I just think that Quake I feel like that Quake does an amazing job in so many ways to where it does feel the same from that of the Doom games or other games that you have played, because, they are FPS games. They're first-person shooters. But, like I say, you have, for example, when you play the original Doom games, you're going through different types of bases, you're going through maybe some catacombs, perhaps, maybe. But what Quake does is that it has those types of things. It does have those types of things, but Quake is more dark. It's more grittier. The gameplay, yes, does feel like a Doom game because it's fast and it's fast and it's brutal. That's what makes it awesome as well. So that's like that. I thought I'd put that in there as well. So there we go. Another thing, what I really think what made Quake so amazingly awesome was the fact that it's level design. Now, I can't say that the original Doom games didn't have amazing level design. The games did have some really good level design. I give them that. But what I love about Quake, even more so as well, is the fact that each level that you go through of Quake, it's always going to feel different. It's not always going to feel the same. To me, when I played the original Doom games, I always felt like that each level that I was going to, it always felt the same. But in Quake, it didn't feel that way for me. It really didn't, because I'm just like, okay, you had to I felt like that Quake was more kind of like of a, not just maybe a tactical type of game. I mean, obviously, any kind of first-person shooter can be somewhat of a tactical, if that's the way how you want to put the terms in. I don't know. But that's the way how I feel about it. Now, going back to the level design, in the sound design in Quake is stellar. It's one of the best I've ever heard or seen in a game, other than like the Doom games or the other FPS games that we've had in the previous past. Those were amazing. But I think that oh my god, I believe that Quake does just things a little bit better in the sound quality area. And now going to the gameplay. Did I talk about the gameplay? No, I didn't. I'll go a little bit into the gameplay here. Now the gameplay does feel samey from that of the Doom games, obviously, because it's an FPS. So, but I just think that Quake it does a couple of things just a little bit better from what the older school Doom games did. You know? And that's another thing. I think the Doom games are one of the best games out there in terms of the old school FPSs. Quake is the same thing. It's no different. I do, however, there is one thing I can definitely admit something here. I do love the enemy variety in Quake. I'm not saying I don't like the enemy variety in the Doom games. I think they're absolutely amazing. But I love the way how the enemies look in Quake. They're not as they're not as pixelated as for what the enemies are in the Doom games, because those are more like pixelated sprites. If I said that correctly, you know. But that's another thing what made Quake so different though too, other than being in the same genre as the FPS genre. But the enemies, or the weapons, or anything for that matter, like I said, it's about the 3D rendering. Quake did a better job with that because of its 3D rendering quality, and that's what id Software did for this game. And I think that's another thing that what made Quake more revolutionary from that of the old school Doom games. In my opinion, of course. I mean, that's what it is. Everything is based on opinion. So anyways, yeah. But anyways, hopefully, I would love at some point to see if they were to make maybe a Quake reboot, like they did with the original, like they did with the new Doom games. That would be freaking cool. I wouldn't mind seeing something like that. I think that would be pretty sweet. So, I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see what the future holds for us in terms of not just the new generation of hardware that we have, whether if it's console or PC. It all has to do with what will happen. So, there we go. But anyways, this is Distinguished Fox here. Really appreciate it. But if you have any comments or questions you might have, please leave them down in the comment section below. Hopefully, if there are going to be any, by all means, it's your choice. So, maybe hit that subscribe button and leave it a like or dislike. Doesn't matter to me. Have a good one, and peace!